I'm very aware. Because I record these, I'm very aware that a lot of people do what I do and they sign up so that they can get the recording from something later. So, um, which I'm completely fine with because we all have busy lives. So, um, it looks like we have all three of you are new folks today. So I will give a short introduction. I am Andrea Walker-Leidy. I am the owner and founder of Walker Publicity, and really what that means is I love to tell stories. I love to connect with people. And in 2007, which just seems longer than it could ever have been, I started this company really to help businesses and nonprofits share their story through PR and social media. It's a privilege for me to get to do that work. I'm really honored that I get to be the person behind the scenes, often sharing stories. So it's very exciting for me. This time slot is designed to be an interactive chat, so hopefully you guys can all interact. If not, that's okay. You can put stuff in the chat. I know sometimes people are in places where they can't interact as well. So if you can't, that's okay. But if you can, that's even better. And really, we're going to talk about what storytelling looks like to me, how I define that. None of these are hard and fast rules. These are all experiences and things that we've learned along the way, really help specifically for nonprofits to get their message out there. So what I want to do is start by just asking you all, three of you, to tell us about your nonprofit, about you, and what is unique about the organization that you work with. Um, and I will just go in order of what my screen says. So Lauren.
Looks like there's two of us.
But Lauren Baker. Yeah.
Okay.
First on my screen.
Hi, my name's Lauren Baker. I am the Public Policy and Outreach Specialist for Disability Network Eastern Michigan. We are a nonprofit. There are 15 disability networks throughout the state of Michigan. I've been here for 10 years this October. I've done various roles throughout the organization, but I've always worked public policy. So one of my main functions is to let our legislators know about the services we offer and how we can assist their constituents who have a disability. Our office is in Troy. The office I work out of is in Troy. And for many years, it was Disability Network Oakland and Macomb. Last year, we acquired the the Blue Water Center for Independent Living. So they call it either a Center for Independent Living or Disability Network. Those two terms are interchangeable.
Okay.
So now we cover, in addition to Oakland and Macomb, Huron, Lapeer, Sanilac, St. Clair, and Tuscola. So
Awesome.
we have 5 additional counties for a total of 7.
That's amazing.
So yeah, and I've taken our information referral calls. I've facilitated empowerment and soft skills classes at Michigan Rehabilitation Services, facilitated some classes in various high schools. My degree is in elementary education. I used to teach kindergarten many, many years ago prior to coming to Disability Network. But I really enjoy the work that I still get to facilitate classes and provide a lot of outreach. So I'm excited to learn about how we can share on social media. I'm going to be taking over our LinkedIn account. We have a Facebook and a LinkedIn, and I believe Instagram as well. But I will be taking on some of those responsibilities. So I'm very excited to learn about.
Yeah, very cool. I'm familiar with Disability Network. I used to do some marketing for Crittenton's home care agency. And so I was through that, I worked with the Senior Coordinating Aging Network, that SCAN Oakland group. And then I think there were some representatives from Disability Network who used to come to that networking event.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with you guys. Through that, I was part of SCAN Oakland and went to SCAN Macomb's meetings sometimes. So very familiar with your work. That's awesome. Thank you. And tell me, so you've mentioned a little bit about the social media you guys are on now, that you're looking to probably grow your LinkedIn a little bit. Tell me what's unique about Disability Network. What are those things that you all, really like to try to get the message out about?
So one of the what sets us apart, we assist people all ages, all disabilities. So we're not a specific, if it's breast cancer, if it's a specific disability. So we receive so many calls from people if they don't know where to turn, if they have a newly acquired disability, if they're in a car accident and they have, they need some medical devices and they just don't know the first step. So we could be, we are that one-stop shop. First, come to us and we can assist you. Yeah, and we also do assist people, Medicaid, Medicare assistance program during open enrollment. Some of my coworkers are certified MAP counselors. We go into nursing homes, provide nursing facility transition to those who are able to transition out, and they must have Medicaid. That is a requirement for that program.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do. We have a loan closet here, medical equipment at our office in Troy. We're located at 15 in John R, excuse me. And then we also have our Fort Gratiot office and a Sandusky satellite office.
That's exciting. That's like all of Michigan.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Lauren L. I'm going to share a little bit about your nonprofit.
Hey, I was actually hoping to be a fly on the wall for this one because I'm still packing to go to Reno. I actually am volunteering for a it's not a nonprofit yet, but it's an organization called Basically Wonderful, and I'm actually going to going to copy and paste. I'm going to copy and paste our mission statement in the chat. But we focus on creating peer-led spaces that are welcoming to queer and disabled communities.
Amazing.
I've been volunteering with them for about 6 months now, doing program management and business consulting, and I'm going to be helping launch a program focused on helping disabled folks with assistance needs in general. I can't say much about it because we haven't launched it yet, but I'm really excited about it. And I am actually the program manager for this program, which has kind of led me to actually get a position on the board of directors, which we are creating very soon. And so we are in the steps of becoming, a nonprofit, and I'm very, very excited for this group. And I've become very close to the founder in a meeting with them today. We have lots and lots of meetings, so you know how the process goes here. So there is a lot of work to be done, and so I am, as someone who is, becoming on the board of directors, I feel it is my duty to learn as much as I can, and be an effective board director. And even just before this webinar, I was just on a finance 101, for nonprofits. So I'm just doing my due diligence to learn as much as I can about nonprofits to be an effective board member and program staff member. So thank you for letting me be here and be a fly on the wall. And it's really, and Lauren Baker, I love your organization. So just love it so much. And I am legally disabled myself. And so I just love hearing about all these other organizations. So thank you.
Well, and for sure, everyone, please put websites or LinkedIn contact information in the chat. One of the reasons that we started doing these roundtables last year was because we realized that a lot of folks just want to connect with each other. And so if I can be a conduit for that, for small or large groups, we love doing that. So please connect with each other. Lauren, do you guys specifically serve the Orlando, Florida area?
We serve all areas. What's great about us is that we are online based, specifically, and we serve everyone. There's no disability that we don't serve. We are all welcoming. And when I look at our analytics, we get some pretty interesting hits, like not just from the United States, from other countries. And so, as I take a look at our analytics pretty frequently, and it's pretty interesting, the reach that we have. So I'm pretty excited over the next year to see, how far our spread can go and how many folks that we can help.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. Well, thank you for joining in. I hope that they're helpful today. Colleen, are you able to share a little bit about yourself?
bring the video up for a minute. I'm also multitasking, so hang
It's
on.
totally fine. Like I said,
That's why I shut the video off.
that's fine. Well, I said when we first hopped on, there were about 20 people who registered for today, but I'm always very aware that most people sign up for things for the same reason I do, so they can get the recording later. So
That's
so
okay.
I'm happy when there are people here so
Yeah.
that we can engage with each other. But otherwise it's just me talking. And I want to hear from you all. It's what helps us be able to really give poignant information, because it can be specific to what you guys need. So, all right, tell us a little about your organization.
So I am in Colorado, and I work for an organization called Peak Parent Center. All 50 states, each one has a parent center. We are a 501c3 nonprofit.
Okay.
And what we basically do is we support families with children with disabilities.
Okay.
And we also support self-advocates. It's like ages birth to 26 that we support.
Okay.
We help with, like, we have parent advisors who people can call or email, and they will help with just directing families in the right direction. So let's say a family gets a diagnosis for their child of like autism or really any disability.
Right.
And they can contact our parent advisors to try to see what their first steps are. They can direct them to therapies in their area. They can direct them to an advocate for at school for IEP meetings, for things like that.
Amazing.
So, and they can give them some, they give them some advice, but they definitely are not an advocate, like an advocate you would pay, for example.
Right.
But they're there to direct them, as I always say. We've been around since 1986. We were started by a lady and a family, a husband and wife, who their child had a disability, and for years they had tried to group people in the Colorado Springs areas where it started, but we support the whole state. Support them, back then it was like books, and it was doctors, and the doctors weren't well connected, and they all had different opinions, and really the information was very hard to come by, and it also was very hard to differentiate what was solid information and what wasn't, and what was backed, and things like that. Additionally, in schools, which were huge advocates for inclusion in schools. And matter of fact, one of the reasons I, like, after I'm done talking, I'm gonna take care of my video and I'm gonna listen and I'll participate, but we have a conference coming up, and I'm a content creator. So I'm very busy right now.
Yeah.
Because we have our yearly inclusion conference, and I'm editing and things right now. So, so that's how it started, and then it grew, and then she got some funding, and we've gone from there. And I am in my position, I'm their communications person really in general, but my title is content creation, digital content creation. So we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn, and we have Twitter, which is Twitter right now. But and we are going to embark upon TikTok for our younger
Exciting
demographic ourselves. Yep. And I actually have my coworker, she's gonna be the one who really works on that. We're going to work together, and then she's going to do all the TikToks and things. So, but yeah, so that's what I do. I also write speeches. I write all kinds of content for anything we have.
I love that.
And I also am a mom of 2 boys, who one has autism and severe ADHD, and the other one has ADHD. So that's how I found out about the organization. I was a stay-at-home mom with a communications background, never thought I would work again, but really wanted to, missed what I did, and came across these guys, and it was a remote position, and it's just the best organization ever.
Yeah. So the center that you work for, do they service nationally, or is it just?
There's one in each state.
Okay.
Then it's hard to explain. Sometimes I get kind of jumbled with it too. And then we have like, what do they call them? There's like, let me look it up here quick. I want to use the right terminology. We have like regions.
Okay.
And then, so our particular center we support the other parent centers a little bit. So for that region, so it's like California, Arizona, I can't think of them all, but
Okay.
so you get the point though.
Yeah.
So there's like
You
multiple
support
states
the region.
we
Okay.
kind of support the region because we're like kind of a head parent center, if
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yep.
I think we've just been around a long time.
Yeah.
So I only do content creation for Colorado.
Okay. That's
So that's primarily what I do. So I spend my days, I search like the surround, like other, like it's kind of unique. There we go. I let in. It's unique because we work with other nonprofits. Like on Facebook, I share a lot of other nonprofits events and materials, resources and things like that. So I share those things and kind of get the word out. We have information that we share with them. We do workshops. We do online and in-person workshops that I market and advertise.
That's awesome.
So yeah. And
Holly, do you have what's the website for?
it's peakparent.org.
Okay.
And I can put it in.
PAK.
I'll take it
PIK or PIQUE?
here. 1 second.
Okay. Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, can't
Thank
wait
you.
to check it out. This is
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
I have to ask. I have things to say, but
Okay, go.
I have to ask. How did you guys all hear about this? Because I mean, we spread it out, right? But you are all in very similar organizations, so I'm curious to hear how you heard about the event today, because that's
I got
very
an
cool.
email through Eventbrite.
Okay,
I
awesome.
received an email from the Troy Chamber of Commerce, and that's the city
Love it.
where
Yeah. Okay,
office I work out of.
that's so cool because you guys are like, I love that when that
Oh.
happens. You are all
Yeah.
working in disability. That's
And I feel for you in Michigan. I grew up in Iowa.
oh, okay.
So your weather right now, probably.
We
Yeah,
just
it's
got
actually
it.
sunny today.
Yeah,
We haven't seen the sun, and it's
And you
it's
just
third-
celebrate that on those days.
Yeah,
Because there's not a lot of
putting me in a
vitamin
great
D
mood.
happening. It's one of the reasons I moved to Colorado. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we got Colorado and Florida in here. It's always the last, sidebar, we work with some cannabis companies as well. And so I do a roundtable for that industry where we talk
There's a lot
about
of Colorado.
applications and lots of Colorado, but the last call we had was a woman from Bermuda. They're looking to legalize cannabis in Bermuda. And so she was telling us about their weather in Bermuda that day. And I think
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
the November roundtable we had. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was,
I know.
it was colder in November than I think it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for sharing. First things first, I love that I'm able to connect 3 nonprofits today on this call that maybe haven't heard of each other, that are all working in the disability field. That makes me
I'm going to
really
shut off my video, but I'm listening and I'll
yeah,
put
go
this-
ahead. Yep. So one of the things that, the reason that we're calling today storytelling and not just PR and social media is because I believe that at the core of everything we do is how do we share our story? How do we tell what is important about us? What is unique about us? What will pull on people's heartstrings? I gave a talk this morning to some college students, and we were talking about social media in general. And I was telling them, which made me sound old, but it's okay. When I graduated college, I knew I wanted to be a writer. I knew I wanted to be in PR or freelance or writing and whatever that looked like. When I graduated, social media wasn't a thing.
Same.
And so it just started evolving.
Yeah, same for me too.
Year, I graduated in college, I'm 40, so I graduated in like 2005, and it was
Yeah.
just starting, right?
Yep.
And so I was telling them, I was encouraging them, at the core of everything we do is, this is who I am, who are you? And it's really my anthem for all of life. So it's easy for me to talk about it for business. And it's what I do with PR. I connect with the media and I say, this is, whoever I'm talking about that day, this is who my client is. What do you need today? And really that's it. If those 2 things happen, you can carry that into any industry, into any social media outlet, into any communication avenue. And I started, unknowing to me, I started doing that early in my career and early with this business. And it's what has made us be able to pivot every time there's a new social media channel that we need to give. One thing that I will tell everyone is when you're sharing your story, consistency counts. So, the challenge that we often see when there isn't a content creator on a team, and most nonprofits don't have the luxury of having a content creator. It's usually someone who wears some other hats or a volunteer who's trying to share on social media. So most of my nonprofit clients will come in and we'll do an intensive and teach them how to share their story, right? But then we make them only pick 2 or 3 social media outlets, because the importance is sharing the story and figuring out where the most people are, but figuring out the content that you can keep consistent. There is nothing worse than going to a social media site and seeing that they haven't posted in 3 months or a year, or the event that they have up was 2 years ago's event, and they probably had an event last year too. So really, exactly the same as you would do in your life, right? It's new year. We start in January. Everybody has a resolution. I'm not a big resolution person because of this exact reason. I believe in consistency. And if I make a New Year's resolution to work out 3 days a week for an hour, I'm not going to do it in March. I'm not. And it's more important to me to figure out what I can do from January to July than it is for me to start strong in January. And that is exactly what social media and media relationships are about. That is, it's consistency in sharing your brand. The big challenge with that often comes with, well, what do we say? What do we talk about? I share, if you don't follow me on LinkedIn or any social media, on Fridays, I started this year, I did make one resolution for myself that I was going to share a tip every Friday, or 3 weeks in. It's going okay so far. Last Friday, I talked about that when it comes to media relations, you're not that important. No one's that important. There's probably a bigger story all the time. But also that your content can't be, this is what we do, and we're the best at this thing all the time. Because you can only say that so many times. So what I encourage people to do is start with identifying who you are. So bucket 1, identify. Take the time to really map out, and map out can look like, when we do intensive with folks, we put, papers on the walls and we hand out worksheets, and we do a brainstorming session where we really talk about, first, what's your mission statement? How does your mission statement walk out? How do the people in your office talk about mission statement? I love doing that with teams because we can hear, well, we carry out the mission in this way. If you're the one creating content, you should also be the one who's talking to every department in your organization consistently. I have a saying that I've been using since college that I say, it's just a Tuesday, nothing's that important. Unless you're a brain surgeon, you can make mistakes today. It's just a Tuesday. Most people, they go to work, they check in, they get their day done, right? It's just a Tuesday. We're working or we're volunteering. Most people in their department, in their silo, they don't realize that what they're doing is amazing unless we ask them what they did with our social media, branding, marketing, share story cap on. And they might be like, oh yeah, I've got a meeting this afternoon with, I'm going to make an example that someone had told me before. We have a meeting tomorrow. They asked some nonprofits to come and do a roundtable. I think the Secretary of State's going to be there. And he wants to it was a Detroit nonprofit in Michigan where I am. And yeah, the Secretary of State's coming into town and he wants to talk with nonprofits from Detroit. So I got invited. We're just going to go to this roundtable tomorrow. Now, they did not think that this was something they should mention to their social media manager. It didn't occur to them. It was literally on a Tuesday. And for the executive director of that organization, it was just his calendar. It takes stepping back, or someone stepping back and saying, what's on your calendar? What's going on? Tell me your story this week. Tell me your story tomorrow. If you have kids, it's the same thing we do with our kids. What happened in school today? Nothing. Okay, well, when you were at recess, did you play with these 3 kids? Yes. What did you guys do? It's that digging a little bit. I have a journalist background, so I like being the person who asks lots of questions because I just want to know what everyone's doing all the time. And so the nosiness in me loves my job. But when you start, it's identify. Identify means, what do we do? How do we do it? Who does it? And then at the end is, why do we do it? And I say that's at the end. Most people start with the why, but why we do it is going to happen all the time, but you're going to end up sharing the why as you share the what we do, the how we do it, and the who does it. So I really, I always encourage people, like, take the time to let your team share their story. Take the time to, we work with a nonprofit and we do 1 or 2 monthly employee spotlights. What that allows me to do is it allows me to show a person's face, but talk about an area of the organization that's sometimes hard to explain. So instead of me trying to explain it or the organization trying to explain it, I let that person who works in that area tell me what they love about their job. Sidebar, it's amazing for hiring because you're showing the people that work at your organization. So when I say share your story, that's literally what I mean. Share the story, the stuff that's behind what we do, the stuff that is how we do it and who is in there doing the work. The biggest challenge to that is consistency. I tell everyone to start with a calendar, like spread your month out, pick what that looks like. Decide that, okay, every week we want to talk about a what post, a how post, a who post. If you can do that and say 3 times a week you're going to post social media content, you will very easily have 12 things to talk about in a month. And just like that, you've created consistency. Just like that, you have created a way to truly tell your story in an authentic way that's not just, it's National Pizza Day. A lot of social media managers who work in my line of field, they do lots of, it's National Pizza Day, or it's National Cat Day, or it's Chocolate Day. Now, if your staff does National Chocolate Day every year, or you all like eat chocolate together, then yeah, that's great. That's your who, right? Share a picture of everybody in the conference room celebrating Chocolate Day. But unless that aligns with your mission, I don't really care if it's Pizza Day. That again, this hour is about only what I think about social media and PR, nothing legitimate, and nothing concrete, right? This is how we do it. And this is how I believe that you can do it authentically and kind of easy. And if it's not easy, then call me and we'll help, right? We can do an intensive, we can do some time. That's not me selling, that's just me saying I like to help people. So tell me if you can, and you don't have to turn your camera on. If you want to put it in the chat, you can do that. Tell me if you can, what are your biggest challenges when it comes to sharing content or getting media coverage or connecting with the media? And you can either put it in the chat if you don't want to hop on, or just unmute and answer that.
I can start. So I'm not in charge of our digital content. We have a couple people who are amazing at updating our Facebook, and they've been lagging a little bit on LinkedIn. So my director asked if I would, and I love using LinkedIn. So he knows that I love using LinkedIn. I'll share from Area Agency on Aging or our local transportation smart, things like that I think would be useful to people that I'm connected with. I would share my personal. So he asked me to try to take over the Disability Network Eastern Michigan. But we host virtual peer support groups, and we share that content on our Facebook. And we have, we'll celebrate National ADA Day. We had an event in Fort Gratiot or Port Huron, excuse me. So anything that we want people to come to, we'll definitely make sure we have a flyer created, digitally accessible flyer. So that's the kind of things that we've been sharing when we have events.
Okay. Do you, and again, you're not that team, but as you look at, looking at LinkedIn, what that looks like, what are some challenges that you guys face with getting your message out there?
I'm not sure because I'm going to be
Okay.
new at, so
Yeah,
maybe.
I love that. Well, let me know in 6 months if you're having any challenges. Colleen or Lauren, do you want to share any challenges that you all have? I know Lauren, your organization's new, but
So I can go.
awesome.
My challenges are that I have a couple. So, and one I definitely want your opinion on, because like you, I graduated before you. I graduated in 1999 from college with a mass comm journalism degree. I started another one in like PR and marketing, but I wanted to be done and get married. So I just was happy with the mass comm journalism degree. But anyway, but there was no social media, but I've always loved social media. It's just the communications journalist in me. So
Yep.
I relate to you, by the way, because I like to ask lots of questions. I like to whatever. So anyways, so one challenge I have is, social media is just that, it's social. And my posts, like I've tried the things where you try to make it be a little more interactive, some of them are kind of gimmicky. And so I just stopped totally because I was like, or you ask something and nobody responds. All I get is, I don't get a lot of comments. I get a lot of likes or, loves or like whatever. And I guess that means they're out there and our analytics show that people are seeing our stuff. They just are like looking at it and moving on apparently. So there's one thing. And then the other thing, which ties into what you asked is, so the role of media today, newspapers and such, are press releases still a valid thing? Are they worth a try? And that's my question.
Okay. Awesome.
For events, because like when we have events, I don't know, should I be doing some press releases? The consensus in our organization is no.
Okay.
I always think something's worth a try.
Yeah.
Because I still read newspapers and I still see events listed and there's that hope for some free publicity.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's a slow news day or something and they need a fuzzy story.
Yeah, those are really great questions. Colleen, do you want to share any challenges that you have? And then I'm going to answer those questions.
Or you mean Lauren?
No, sorry, Colleen. Do you have
I was the one that was talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking.
That's okay. I
know. Lauren, do you have any challenges that you want to share? And then I'll answer Colleen's questions.
Mine were very similar to other Lauren's, Lauren number one. And then I actually had the same question as Colleen regarding press releases, but in regards to kind of where Lauren is, I'm not the person managing the social media side, and we just don't have much of a strategy. What we do in terms of posting, we just share our virtual peer support groups that's really all that we do. We don't do right now. We don't do any fundraising on our social media. We don't have a fundraising strategy, which is something that I'm working on the side right now. There's not really much interaction going on. We don't have much of a strategy for bringing on new peers or bringing new peers to us, which is another thing that I'm working on. And yes, I definitely have a question about press releases and when those are appropriate to use.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start with talking about the PR piece of it. Everyone wants to know, are press releases still worth it? They don't go anywhere. What I really tell people, and this is back to the beginning of when you're looking at, who are we? What do you need? Who are you? Right? When we're looking at sharing social media and sharing press, really it's the taking a step back and figuring out who your audience is first. Like, who's the audience that you really want to reach with this thing? And And that can be varied, right? It can be you want to reach funders. It can be you want to just reach the community in general. It can be you want to reach clients. But looking at that. And then with PR, it's being strategic. So if I have a client who is we'll talk about Disability Network, they service Michigan. So their niche is Michigan. Disability services in Michigan. Somebody who has a nonprofit that services nationally, they might need to find a different niche, right? But they can geographically pick their niche. What that means is if they're writing a press release, it's very important that they connect with audiences in Michigan. Okay, what do audiences in Michigan read? Find that out. A lot of audiences read social media. A lot of audiences read influencer blogs. A lot of audiences watch the news. Yes, a lot of audiences still read the paper. More likely, a lot of audiences will read a link to a newspaper article or a TV link or a blog when someone shares it on social media. So in my world, the purpose of a press release is twofold. Sometimes we send press releases because we think it's really good news and someone will pick it up. And that's typically for traditional media, right? TV, radio, news, magazines, all that stuff. Has to be important, has to be consistent, unless it's groundbreaking or urgent news or unfortunately bad news, because we know that works in the news. Unless it's those things, it can't just be a one shot in a barrel kind of thing. It's creating consistency to let the media know who you are and what you're an expert at. So I think the PR strategy should be very similar to the social media strategy, where you start and you plan. What can we talk about this year? If it's ADA month, awareness month, what do we have to say about that? How do we service that? How can we let the media know what's important about this? So first of all is looking at that traditional stuff and just getting your name out there so that they identify you with what you do. The end goal of this is that one day a media person has a story and they need an expert on disability services and they know that you do that work. And they call you, or they go to your website and they fill out a contact us form, or they call me and they say, hey, what client do you have that can talk about this? So some of writing press releases is a long game. The short game piece of it is that there are a plethora of places that you can, for free, with your time, post press releases and information and events for free. There are places that they're looking for content. There are online news outlets that share that stuff, smaller outlets, industry specific. All of you are in the disability world. So there are disability blogs and industry specific outlets that want to know what you're doing and would share your information with their audience, which is your audience. So again, I'm going back to that identify, right? Identify who are we and who do we want to connect with. It's the PR person's going to say, yes, PR still works, but there's no guarantees. I give board reports every month to my nonprofit clients. I know what it's like when boards are like, well, why are we doing PR? There's no guarantee. Could we take an ad? No, we cannot take an ad. Nobody has that kind of money in nonprofit. Some people do, and that's wonderful, but it's more important to create that consistency. If you're having an event, create a press release, send a press release, but then have a list of places that you know that information should be, that you can post it yourself. In our area, one of the things that we do for all of our clients is if an event's happening or PR is happening, we post that to all of our local news outlets that allow posting from the community. We post that to all of our chambers of commerce sites, where members will see that and it'll pick up in their newsletter. The reason that Lauren Baker is on this call is because I sent a press release to my local chamber of commerce that I'm a member of about this event that I'm hosting. They sent that out in their weekly newsletter. So maximize all of your memberships. So press releases aren't just about the media, they're about sharing your story. So we use them for lots of different things. The end game is always media, but it's not an overnight thing. If they don't know you exist, it's going to take a minute for them to realize you're credible, and then they will start calling you, or they'll start paying attention to your press releases. We have some relationships with the media where we can call and say, hey, what are you working on? Do you need experts in this? And that is a way, that's why someone hires a PR person, right? Is because sometimes we can take that step farther, quicker. But it doesn't mean that you all can't do that work. And I always think people should be sharing their stories in every possible avenue they can. So yes, still write press releases. Even if you just put them on your website, it's a great content. And it's a great reason to link a press release on social media and get someone back to your website. So the purpose should be expansive. And you can't think, there's a reason it's called social media, right? That's your media now. If a social media account has 10,000 followers and 4,000 are engaged and 100 see it, you can look, when you look at your analytics, if 300 people saw a post, that's probably the same amount of people as would have actually paid attention to your article in the print media. So don't underestimate what all media does, right? Because it all matters. And when you jumble all those numbers together, that's where those stats look really nice. Oh, okay, we shared this message and we put it in 5 different places. No, it was not on the front of, the Washington Post, but do we have the capacity to work with millions of people if the Washington Post picked it up? Maybe not, right? So, identifying where you are right now and what you can do with that is really a great way to do that. So that kind of leads into that social media question about engagement. I really try to remind everyone that every social media user is also like you. It takes a lot to comment. It takes a lot to put the time and effort into commenting on something. And it has to really either pull your heartstrings or tug on you or make you feel like you have something that you can interject into that. Think of how many things you scroll past that you don't comment on, but you still pay attention to or hit the quick like button. So assume that everyone else in social media is just like you, especially if most of your followers are in your generation or demographic. It's a great, easy way to not stress out that nobody's seeing your content. If you're getting any engagement, it's beautiful. If you're getting a lot of impressions, that's beautiful. That means people are looking and engaging and seeing your content, which is the first goal. Our goal for social media is for most clients is not just the comment, but the share. We would love the share is the reach. LinkedIn's a little different. The comment and the liking helps to have other demographics see it. LinkedIn's the only one that's like that, where it shows up to me what my connections liked. So we want them to comment on other people's things. We want those comments on LinkedIn. But again, if you start sharing content that is personal and relatable and the who behind your why and sharing your story, you should start seeing more engagement. People will always, if you have, we worked with a hotel for a lot of years. The most comments that we ever receive on social media are the posts about the bellman and the housekeepers at that hotel. And real people, real faces, but those are the faces that you see when you stop in. And we would get dozens of comments about, we had 50 for the bellman one day because everybody sees them when they walk in. It was the who, right? It was this person who's just doing his job, but he's the reason people love going there. And he walks out to their car and he gets their bags and he's so nice. So it goes back to that relatability. And that's something, again, okay, well, I would comment on that. I love that guy. I want him to know that I think he's great. So if you have someone in your organization that people love, or is the person who does the speaking engagements or leads workshops, those are the faces that people will connect with. We've already said social media is just that, social. So it's, maybe 20% information based, but it should be 80% personal, storytelling, touching. Those are the things that get more comments, but don't discount the fact that if someone's viewing it and taking it in, that still matters. You may see a post, I think about what I do. I see social media all the time that I talk about to my husband later that I didn't like or comment on. So it's understanding that for as many people might be touched by it, 3% are going to actually engage with it. But this is also where I help, when I work with organizations, I help them to train their internal team on how to embrace and empower their own social media. Because your agency, your organization, everyone should be excited about the fact that you're on social media. The whole team should be following your social media pages. And if half of your employees shared the posts that you put out, your reach would spread far. So some of that is just engaging your team. Everyone's a little piece of the marketing. You'd be surprised how quickly they start commenting and sharing, the team and the volunteers, when you start sharing their story as part of yours. People matter, connection matters. So if you're sharing Tina from the office down the hall, well, then James is definitely going to comment, love working with Tina. And now people are going to see these amazing people in your organization that are behind this awesome work that you do. So it's really always going back to that, that connection, and keeping your social so that people want to engage with it. Does that answer those questions? I want to make sure I'm giving you what you want.
Oh my goodness, that was wonderful. Thank you. Like you said, sometimes you get in your little hole, and I don't think I have a silo. I'm very open and communicative, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
But you get in your little hole and you need another perspective. And I appreciate that because you opened my eyes to a few things. Thank you.
I love that.
My mind just started going. I got all kinds of ideas. So
Good. And that's really, this is why I love what I do, is because typically I don't do this work in the way I love my colleagues in PR and social media, and we work together all really well, and all of the other businesses that I refer to. But I've realized that not everyone thinks this way about how social media should work. And I want it to feel authentic, especially for a nonprofit. The
Yep.
reason that I love nonprofit work is because baseline, no matter what, you have good news to share.
Yep.
You're doing great work. Like you're not a car wash, right? Like, yeah, everybody wants a clean car, but it's not really changing the world. Now, if you're a car wash that hires folks with disabilities, then great, you're changing the world. I hope you're sharing that story. But, nonprofits have this unique place where they forget to share how amazing they are. Because sometimes it's just hard to figure out ways to share that. And so, coming back to the ground level, like, how would I tell my mom about this? How would I tell my neighbor about this? What would I want to hear? What would pull on my heartstrings? What would make me share something? It's always going to be a kitten or a puppy. I've seen 4 people share this dog that's hiding the cat underneath him, and they cuddle every day.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone has seen this.
Yep.
This video. Yes, of the lady saying, "Where's whatever the cat's name is?" And then the dog lifts his head up, and the cat was hiding under there the whole time, right?
And I'll watch it like 3 times in a row because it makes me smile and giggle.
Right. Now, mind you, I did not comment or like on this video.
That's true.
That 3 people shared, but it is stuck with me. If that cat and that dog were at a nonprofit, I would 100% have Googled that nonprofit later, right? You don't all need to go buy cats and dogs, but a perfect example of you are impacting people with your story. You know that. That you're impacting clients who may never talk to you again. For every 1 letter you get in the mail that thanks you guys for your work, there are hundreds of people that you're touching every day. And so that, I think, is just this unsung beauty of nonprofit work, and why it's so important for me to be able to empower nonprofits to share those stories with however small or big those audiences are, and pace yourself, right? Give yourself the time to start seeing what that work looks like, see what works and doesn't work. But be okay with just, okay, we're going to start here. We're just going to start sharing some, once a month, I'm going to do a different thing. Once a month, I'm going to say, this is a professional we work with, specifically for LinkedIn, just for you, those collaborations are so important. I always want to know, who are you partnering with? What associations are you a part of? Who did you refer to this week? These are questions I ask my clients, because not only do I want to know what stories are behind those, I want to know who we should be tagging on social media. I want to tap into their audiences. I want to thank them for their partnership. Who are your sponsors? What grants did you get? Okay, great. Let's thank them. Let's talk about that. Let's let people know, again, how do we get our work done? Nonprofits get their work done by funding. Who's funding you? Okay, here are those people. If you have a donor who's willing to talk about why they donate to you, what a cool story. What a great way for people to see why they donate to you, and maybe another donor be like, wow, I could do that with $100. That's awesome. I could feel that way. So again, it's back to that. Here's who we are. Here are the people. Here's who I am. Who are you? How do I connect with you? Are there any other questions? We have a couple of minutes. And I want to make sure if there's any other questions that you guys want to ask today, I'm certainly available later, and happy to do this. We'll come into organizations and can hold these types of webinars for any types of teams. So if you have a team that wants to hear these things, please let me know. Are there any other questions?
Just want to say this was great feedback. Thanks.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned really resonated with me, because it was something that one of my tech companies that I used to work at did, which was do kind of like employee highlights.
Yep.
And it was just such, a good strategy to like bring in more employees, and they would talk about why they love working here so much, and they'd
Yep.
get like a professional photo done.
Yep.
And yada, yada, yada. And so I thought, that's literally something I had written down of like, hey, let's do this as something to do for our organization. But
it's an easy win,
Yeah.
team,
Mhm.
everybody loves to see themselves.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
at least one person is going to like and share that or comment on it, because it's themselves.
We do something called Peak in the Community.
Oh, love that.
And when we go to, it's a regular thing that we do on Facebook, and we have people who go out to like fairs. A parent advisor will go out to a fair, and they'll have like information to hand out and just tell them about our who we are and things.
Yeah.
And I always make them take a picture of themselves at the fair, take a picture, like a background picture, like just how big it was and things like that. And then I have a set background and everything. I insert the pictures into it. I put some text at the top. I tell, how it's like, Peak was so happy to be at da 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 da. We spoke to da 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 da. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, I love that.
And it
So
shows
cool.
people what we're doing. That's our goal, is like,
Right.
I felt so good too. There's some things that I learned today, but then some things that just underscored that we're doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah.
We wanted, when they hired me, I'm almost here a year now.
Okay.
We talked about how we wanted just what you said. We want the faces. We want them to know that we're authentic and that this is who we are.
Yeah.
And we want you to feel good reaching out to us for help. We want you to come to us and say, this has happened, and like whatever. So we do that too. We do the Peak in the Community
I
thing.
love the idea of taking photos with people who stop by your booth or at your events, because you're right. It shows your people, your events, and your community.
And it shows us in action.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I identified when I started was, I said, I thought you were purely a Colorado Springs organization. I didn't know you were the whole state.
Yeah.
And so then now this shows, because we have them in different places.
Oh, right.
So now they're seeing that we are across the state. We are not just one thing. That's been our goal, is to try to get that message out. So
that's exactly what I mean, right? What is the most creative way that you can share, instead of just a list of cities you service, or, hey, we service all of Colorado. Now you've put a face to that community. You've let them know that you're in the city at this location that people are familiar with. I love that. And I
And when
mean,
we do
pictures worth a
advertise,
1,000 words.
yep, come to this, Peak will be there. You can meet our parent advisor in person and talk to them.
I love
And it
it.
also puts a face
So
with the
cool.
parent advisors too, that they're not just somebody on the phone. So
Right, yeah. And people feel comfortable with if they know what they're looking for, what they're gonna, again, I assume everyone is going to respond in the world the way I do, because we're all very similar, right? Humans are
Exactly.
similar. And so I feel more comfortable going to a place if I mean, don't you guys all like see if you can Facebook or LinkedIn someone before you meet with them if you haven't ever seen them before?
Yep.
If you can see their face, you're gonna feel a little more comfortable walking into a room. And it's the same, if you can show the faces of an organization, people are gonna feel a lot more comfortable walking in. It's why one of the first people we highlight when we do employee highlights is front desk, the people who are at, who are the first faces you're gonna see, because that makes people so much more comfortable when they're walking in the door. Everyone highlights the CEO every once in a while, but who unlocks the front door, who takes registration when people come in the door, or who's at most of your events. Those are the folks that are the real faces of that work. So I love that. That's really cool.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys so very much. This is recorded. We'll be sending it out to the whole list, so you'll get that if you want to hear that later. We do have some other tips that we send out through the month if you want to stay engaged on the email list. We have a specific list for nonprofits that we send things to, so if you sign up, we'll put you there. And I am so grateful to have met you. And it's very cool to me that you're all in similar networks on this call today. So please, I hope that you all connect with each other.
For
Oh,
sure.
thank
This
you
has
so
been
much for the
great.
safe space.
Bye.
Nice
Thank you
to meet
guys.
all. Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.